Hey there, Blazer fans. Welcome to episode 2 of The Dragon's Den, a podcast for those that bleed green and gold. Today I've got a very special guest, former UAB baseball legend Ryan Keedy. Ryan played for the Blazers from 2006 to 2008 and went on to the minor leagues for 3 years. Ryan either owns or is in the top 10 of almost every batting statistic at UAB, and he's a super great guy, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. So I won't keep you waiting, so let's get into episode 2. All right, Blazer fans, time for episode 2, and with the introduction, I'm going to do my best Bill Heaton impersonation. Some of you might know Bill on Twitter and Facebook. So batting third, first baseman, a senior from Gardendale, Alabama, Ryan Keedy.
That's pretty good.
Ryan, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. All right, so I'll just get going into the episode. So just going over some of your stats while you were at UAB, just to kind of give the listeners some familiarity with your stats and your time while you played at UAB. But you led the Blazers in batting average in 2008 with a .423 batting average. Led the Blazers in RBI in 2008, 69 RBIs. Recorded 99 hits in 2008. Not only did that lead the team that year, that also tied a program best for a single season. UAB's all-time leader in batting average, all-time leader in on-base percentage, most doubles in a single season with 29 in 2008, right? Is that right?
Yes, 2008. Yep.
Sixth all-time in UAB history in slugging percentage, top 10 in several single-season records, and named All-American in 2008, third-team All-American by the Collegiate Baseball and Louisville Slugger team, National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association third-team All-American, and the American Baseball Coach Association and Rawlings All-South Regional Team, a second team in 2008, first-team All-Conference 2008, All-Tournament Team 2008, two-time CUSA Hitter of the Week, and UAB all-time letter winner. I could keep going on and on. It's you've got quite a list there. Congratulations on that time at UAB, and also played 3 seasons in the minor leagues with the Cubs and Marlins organization. So a lot of accolades, and that also came. You gained a lot of that from your time in high school. I saw that you played baseball and football and basketball in high school, and 3-year letter winner at Mortimer Jordan High School. And in both your junior and senior year, you received Birmingham News Super All-State honors, Jefferson County 5A Player of the Year both years, and North Jefferson News Player of the Year for both years, your junior and senior year, all playing baseball. And all this while playing for your dad. So what was it like playing for your dad?
It wasn't too bad. I know, today you think of my dad as my coach, and then everybody automatically assumes that they're crazy, or, you're out there working 20 hours a day or something like that. But no, it wasn't too bad. We had a good relationship growing up, and we had a good relationship on the field. Now, naturally, like any father, he was on me a little bit more than everyone else, but that's kind of expected. But like I said, nothing outlandish, nothing crazy. And, he was so knowledgeable of the game. It was, nothing but beneficial for me, really.
Awesome. So you played, like I just said, you played football and basketball in high school as well. Did you have any other interest from any colleges for these sports, or was it just primarily baseball?
Primarily baseball. Basketball, absolutely not. I had one very average skill set, as I could shoot just a little bit, but all the other skills required for basketball, I did not have. But football, I love football. I played quarterback, and we had some really good teams my junior and senior year. And that, nothing really to do with me. Our defense was very good, and we had some really good offensive players as well. I talked to a few schools, and by talk to, I mean got some letters, some handwritten letters from, nothing crazy in football. But I knew that I wanted to play baseball, and so that was really the only area that I kind of focused on as far as next level stuff.
Okay. So you went to Wallace State.
Yes.
Did you go straight out of high school?
Yeah, so I went. So I went from my after my senior year. I had talked to a few schools prior to, and it just kind of didn't work out. And so I ended up going on a visit to Hanceville, Wallace State and Hanceville. Met Coach Putman up there, and almost immediately I fell in love with the place, and I love him to death. And it was beneficial for me because instead of trying to go somewhere bigger and maybe redshirting or kind of playing here and there, I got to go to Wallace, for free, and and I played every inning that I was there. And so for me, it was good, that experience, that game experience, and all that. That was very beneficial.
Okay. UAB seemed to have a kind of a natural pipeline with Wallace State in the past. I know we've had some pretty good players come from there. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, it's great that we were able to have you at UAB, and it seemed to work out really well. But what made you choose UAB?
So after I got to Hanceville, I had a really good year. Both years were okay, but I had a really good year my sophomore year, and so I talked to a few other schools, but nothing. It just wasn't for me, And then I talked to a buddy on the team. His name was Torrey Croft, and he was from Albertville. He was going to UAB after while he was at Wallace as well, and he was going to UAB, and so that's kind of how I got talking to them. And then they offered me a scholarship to come. And actually, the day before one of our JUCO state tournament games, I called his coach. Frank Walton was there at the time, and he was an assistant. And I called him. I said, "Hey, I know. I hope you're not busy, but we're about to go play. I was going to tell you I was going to go ahead and commit to UAB." And he was excited, and I was excited, and it was good to get that weight off your shoulders. It's a good problem to have, I guess, is trying to decide where you're going to play somewhere. But it was good for me. It was relieving for me, and so, and again, I'd been there before, obviously grown up close, and so I knew what it looked like and what it had to offer, and I was excited.
Awesome. So you come to UAB, you redshirt your first year at UAB in 2006. In 2007, Brian Shoup is the new head coach. What was your first impression of Coach Shoup?
From the get go, you could tell that Coach Shoup commanded respect, and in a good way. I don't mean like a drill sergeant or anything like that. I mean, he commanded in a good way, but he also commanded excellence from you in all areas, academics, off the field, on the field. And so, anytime I think you're involved with a new coach or a new someone in charge, there's always some friction. And there wasn't, and it had nothing to do with him. It was all me, really, honestly. Um, that first year, he was trying to make us do the right thing and trying to make us better. And I had a poor attitude at times, like people tend to do. But after about that first year or so, I decided, hey, I'm going to buy into what he's talking about. I'm going to buy into what he's saying, and it couldn't have been better. And I love Coach Shoup to death. My goodness, it'd be hard to find a better person on earth, honestly. And I think if you talk to 100 people that know him, they'd all say the same thing. And so I love Coach Shoup and love my time playing for him.
Yeah, I've talked with a few former players and also a few folks in athletics that worked really close with Coach Shoup, and they all can agree.
Yeah,
They said that one of the best things I heard from someone who I worked with in the athletics department when I was interning with UAB was he not only wanted you to be I mean, and you kind of mentioned it, he only not only wanted you to be a better player, but he was striving to make you a better man off the field
absolutely.
and
Yes, absolutely.
get you ready for society and um, what's life like after college,
Right.
what you're playing after college. So I can agree. You hit the nail on the head, I think, about Coach Shoup. So what was your favorite memory about your time at UAB?
Uh, Man, there were some good ones. We went on some cool trips. I tell you one that comes to mind. The You mentioned the doubles earlier. The double that broke the record, and I'm trying to think. I think the record, previous record was 20. I think it was 24. I may be off on that, but the one that I hit that broke that record was we were playing at Troy, and what was other than breaking the record, the other significant thing was my grandparents lived in Dothan, and so they were able to be at that game Troy, just a short drive from Dothan, and so they were there. So that was pretty cool. And then the other would be another memory. My favorite one was hitting the walk-off home run to beat Houston my senior year, and I think it was the second game of our conference tournament.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great memory right there. You couldn't ask for a better memory than a walk-off right there. But if you could go back and it might be the one that you just mentioned, but if you could go back and relive one game, what would it be?
Ooh, yeah, that would be a good one. I tell you, if I could relive / change the outcome of any game, it would be the next game, because that win put us in the semifinals of the tournament. And so now we were one win away from playing in the championship, and then obviously 2 wins away from, winning it and going to a regional. And we ended up playing Houston again, and they had to beat us twice, and they did. And so, if you could relive that, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but
yeah,
it was fun. And but yeah, that was a good game. That would be probably one to relive for sure.
I know you probably faced a lot, but who would you say was your toughest pitcher you ever faced?
Oh man. Oh gosh, Conference USA's had some good ones, especially when we were coming through. There's actually a guy that I played with in the Cubs organization named Justin Bristow, and he was from East Carolina. He was a good one. The one that I think the guy that won Pitcher of the Year is from Rice. His name was Ryan Berry, and he felt like he had about 6 or 7 different pitches, and he threw them all for strikes, and they were all good pitches. And he threw hard. And then another guy that got drafted from Tulane, his name was Shooter Hunt. He was a really good player. He was a high draft pick, and he and I have actually talked semi recently, just kind of exchanged pleasantries. But yeah, I would probably say one of those 3 would be right up there.
Which team did you not enjoy playing the most? Which team did you hate playing?
Oh man, let's see. Well, East Carolina was always really good. They had 3 or 4 pitchers that were great, and then they hit the ball really well. So anytime we played them, it was always a struggle as far as trying to win the game. Southern Miss is always very good, and Rice was, my gosh, they're in the regionals every year, it feels like, and they're huge history there. And then of course, anytime you play Alabama, it's always an exciting game too. So
yeah. Who was your go-to guy while at UAB? Like who was your buddy, and what memories do you have with them?
Oh man, the guy that I probably hung out with the most and still talk to this day, by the way, is a guy named Billy Lickner. And Billy's from Huntsville, Alabama, and he was a first baseman and then ended up being a relief pitcher our last year there. He and I were good friends. We had a lot of the same interests as far as off the field stuff. He's also originally from Illinois, and so he's a huge Cubs fan, a Chicago sports fan in general. And he actually, funny story, the day that I got drafted, he was the first person that I called to tell that I had got drafted. And about halfway through the sentence I was trying to tell him, he just started screaming into the phone. and so I let him go for about 10 or 15 seconds, and I just had to hang up on
him. So you played with UAB for 2 years. You redshirted another, but you played with UAB for 2 years. But are you jealous of the guys now at UAB that get to play at Regions Field, since it wasn't really available at your time?
Oh man, that's a nice field, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's I'll say this, as a hitter, it's a lot bigger than Young Memorial, and so from that aspect, I'm not too jealous. But no, man, it is super nice, and it's one of the nicer ones anywhere, not just around the state or around the South or whatever. It's one of the nicer places in the country, and so we still got to play at the Hoover Met a couple times.
Yeah,
and it's nice as well, but it was older. From what am I trying to say? How it looks, it's just an older place, but no, it would have been very, very nice to get to play more than one game, especially. I mean, they play almost half of their home games there now, right? And so it would have been nice.
Yeah, they play a lot of non-conference games and some of the bigger games like in-state opponents like Auburn or Alabama now. But how How often do you get to go out to games now, like UAB baseball games?
Now not quite so much, just because, being the high school head coach, we're, during the baseball season, we're either
Mhm.
playing or practicing as well. And so we try to go on Saturdays and Sundays when we can. And then obviously, if we have an off night as far as a game
Mhm.
and, UAB's playing at home, we'll try to go too. But, it's not as much as I'd like to go, but we still get to go a few times.
Okay. What was your favorite park to play in while you were at UAB that wasn't at home?
Ooh. Um, I tell you what, the coolest trip we went on, my junior year, we went and played a weekend series at Arizona State.
Ooh.
And that was a really, really cool park, with all the history. And you look out and you see all the names on the back of the fence, Barry Bonds and guys like that. And then they got the palm trees. Now, that's where the fun ended because we got our butts whipped that weekend, all three games. But from a playing in the park stance, it was really cool. And then the game started and it wasn't quite so fun. But and then Mississippi State's got a great atmosphere, great park, and then we one of the cooler, more different ones is my senior year we went to Hawaii and played,
Really?
and yes, and it was obviously a very fun trip, and they had a nice brand new turf field. It was really cool.
That's awesome. So we'll kind of transition to the personal side of things, but and then we'll go near the end. We'll go to your questions from my listeners on Twitter and Facebook. But first, personal question: who would you say have been the three most influential people in your life?
Oh uh, man, it's hard to pick just three.
Yeah,
I would
Mo.
think kind of like Mo did. You lump family into one. My
Mm-hmm.
wife is, we've been together been married over 10 years now, and she's amazing, and has been very supportive in what I've done, since we've been together, and my kids are awesome. It's fun having to watch them play or getting to watch them play, and being around them and watching them grow up. So I would put them into one, and then I would put coaches in another group. Like you talked about earlier, my dad was my high school coach, but he was also, played in the big leagues. And so obviously just a wealth of knowledge at baseball standpoint coming from him. And, I'd like to think he raised me the right way, whether he thinks that or not. But, I learned a lot from him. And then Coach Putman at Wallace would be on that list as well. He was a huge part of the mental toughness development.
Yeah.
And I think you can ask anybody that has played for him that, you're going to be in shape when you play for Coach Putman. And so, but I would have played for him for 10 years if they'd have let me. I love that. I love that place. And then Coach Shoop,
Mhm.
from also a mental standpoint, as far as positive thinking, control what you can control, aspect. But the biggest thing with Coach Shoop is the spiritual aspect. And again, as we said earlier, you could talk to anybody that knows him, and they would say the exact same thing. And that's, I think that would probably, he would say, is his ultimate goal. Is baseball is great, but like you said, if you can have your life prepared spiritually and be on the right path and walking with the Lord like you should, and he's had a huge influence in that.
Awesome. So, what's one thing people may not know about you?
Oh, let's see. Well, a few people may know I can play a few instruments.
Really?
I,
What can you play?
well, and by play, I use that term very loosely. I've been able to. I started learning guitar when I was in 10th grade. I had a buddy named Luke, and he was really good. He'd been playing for a while, so he kind of basically taught me how to hold it and how to kind of start. And then he and I, we've been friends since kindergarten, so we knew each other really well. And so I've been playing that since about 10th grade. Um, and and again, play is very loose term. I can do the bass a little bit, and I can keep a very basic beat on the drums. And so, and the piano, I can play a few songs on the piano. I cannot read music, however.
Yeah.
So, I wish I could. My mom was a music minor in high school, and she can do all that stuff, but that like I said, play is a very loose term. I know how to sit down and make some noise on it. That's about that's about it.
Man of many minor talents, would you say?
Right? Yes, very minor.
So, what advice would you give to up and coming players in college?
Up and coming in college, I would say, buy in, go all out, and do what you need to do. Don't take anything for granted. Between my junior and senior year, there was just a moment, like a light bulb clicking on, that hey, this is it. This could be the last time you ever play. And so I wanted to do those things I just mentioned. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to buy into what Coach Shoop and the rest of the coaches were trying to get us to do, and I wanted to do the best I could. If this was my last chance, I was going to do it the right way. And so that would probably be my best piece of advice.
Okay. And what about advice for guys just getting out of college?
Ooh, I would say, have a goal as far as career wise, and do what you need to do while you're young, and have the energy and time to do it. I hear a lot of people say, I wish I could have done, insert career, but I can't now because I don't have the time, or I've got a family or whatever. And not that I would have done anything different necessarily. I just you hear a lot of people say those things. And then the other advice I would give to someone just getting out of college, especially, from an athletic standpoint, is use your resources. Don't be afraid to, hey, I know so-and-so, or, you may know somebody who can give you an in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say don't be afraid to use that.
Okay. So I did my research on you, and I checked out your social media pages and stuff. But I see you're a big UAB supporter now. Were you always a big UAB supporter, or did you growing up? Did you root for other teams, and when you got to UAB, you just stuck with them?
Yeah. So when we were growing up, my dad played baseball at Auburn, and my mom went to Auburn, and my sister actually went to Auburn as well. My younger sister went there as well. So growing up, we were big Auburn people. Um, like I said, the whole family literally almost, went there. But going to UAB and, pulling for them now, I'm a big believer in your team should be the school that you went to. And so UAB, obviously, personally, UAB has done so much for me as far as, an opportunity for an education, an opportunity to play baseball, and, which eventually turned into a professional career for a little while. And so I feel like since UAB has done so much for me, the least I could do is support them as best I can.
So, who's been your favorite player from another sport during your time as a UAB fan?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. I'm trying to think if guys, like Daryl Hackney and Roddy White and those guys were there when I was there, but I can't remember what years they left.
They would have been there
remember
just before you got there.
Yeah.
Still,
I did enjoy watching them though, and I had a buddy, a guy named Sam Kendrick, who was a year older than I was, and he played football at UAB, played D-line for them, and so it was kind of a connection there. I do remember working out with Joe Webb a few times down in the tunnels of Bartow in that old weight room down there. But I would say probably my favorite would be a guy that is still played now. His name's Jordan Howard, and he was a running back, for a couple of years until the shutdown. And Jordan went to Gardendale, and so I was helping with football. I always joke and tell people that I coached him, but I had nothing to do with him. I was a coach. He was on the team. I was just a coach. But Jordan and I have talked. We talk a lot, and we got a good relationship. And I was super excited for us. And I kept telling people all the time that when he committed to us at UAB, that it was a steal. We were getting one of the best ones that nobody was really talking about, and so it's worked out for him. And he's playing in the NFL now. Has done a great job. He was a Pro Bowler after his first year, and honestly, it'd be hard to meet a better guy. He's awesome. He's down to earth, good head on his shoulders, and just all around good dude.
Awesome. So, how's life now? How's life for you?
Oh man, it's good. it's a little crazy for everybody right now, especially from an athletic standpoint. With the shutdown this past spring, our team at Gardendale, we got to play 11 games, and normally we'd play around 30 or 35, and so it was weird. You feel bad for the kids that were seniors, especially that was have that kind of taken away from them. But it's good. We got more family time during that time of the year than we normally would have, and then you got into the summer. Travel ball, youth baseball picked back up,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got to watch my son play. Every game, and so that was obviously great. And we got a little girl about to start kindergarten this year, so it's been it's been hectic the last couple weeks and for everybody. And our son's going into third grade, and so everybody's trying to figure out what are we going to do for school and how's this going to work out. And so other than those unknowns, no complaints.
Okay. So you mentioned that you started with you're the head baseball coach at Gardendale High School. You started in 2018. What's that been like overall during that time? I know you had the COVID situation going on today, but what was it like from the start?
Well, I've been helping at Gardendale since officially 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and I was helping. My dad was the head coach up until a couple of years ago, and so for me, getting that head role was not that difficult of a transition, just because I'd coached all those kids, before, and so it wasn't too weird. The weird part comes, when now you're the guy that everybody asks questions to, and makes final decisions and stuff like that. But we had a really good first year. Um, I actually, I actually thought it was going to be miserable because 2 weeks before our season started that first year, our shortstop, who's now playing at UAB, a kid named David Harris, he was running home in a scrimmage, and just there wasn't a play, nothing crazy. He stepped on home plate and tore his ACL and his meniscus.
Oof.
And then the same day, we also found out our senior catcher was having really bad bicep tendonitis. He ended up missing the whole year. So in in one day, we lost our shortstop and our catcher.
God.
And that was, like I said, that was 2 Saturdays before the season started. So I thought, well, this will be fun. But we had a great group of kids, and that really worked hard and cared about it, and they competed really well. And we ended up making it to the quarterfinals, and we were, it's hard to say, we were 3 outs away from the semifinals, and we ended up getting beat and having to play game 3 and lost in the game 3. But it was a special group of kids, and it was a really, really, really fun year.
So how can my listeners engage with you now?
Let's see. Well, social media is, big now. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, actually. But Instagram and Twitter is at R Keedy, RKEEDY 1121. And then on Facebook is Ryan Keedy. And then if they'd like to follow our high school baseball team, it's at Gdale HS Baseball. And that's on Twitter as well.
Okay. And I'm doing this for all my guests, so I've got a lighthearted question to keep you on your toes here, and
Bring it up.
I want you to think off the top of your head here. Okay.
All right.
If a genie granted you 3 wishes, what would you wish for? Off the top of your head, go.
Well, I mean, the easiest answer is more wishes, right? That would be that would be the first thing.
Cheating.
Yeah, true. Man, I would guess. Let's see. I would go. Bills and debt paid off. I would go. Unlimited snacks, and I would say a Blazer baseball national championship.
Awesome. I like those 3. All right, so I'm going to go to my to the questions now from my listeners on social media. So the first question I've got here is from Twitter, from at Blazer Row, Mike Rowe on Twitter. He asks, how did having a dad play professionally help you in your development and love for baseball?
Oh man, it played a huge role, and we talked about it earlier, that just that wealth of knowledge from having, him having so much experience playing. Um, it was just, any question I had, he was able to answer pretty much. And, kind of guided and directed me as far as what to do and how to do it, how to go about your business. And, obviously from a mechanic standpoint, it was a huge asset for me to have um, in that aspect. And then, getting into pro ball, it was even, he'd been through it, and, it was a few years, before me, but, some things are still the same. And so he kind of had I was able to, he was kind of able to guide me through, what to expect and stuff like that.
Okay. And on Facebook, let's see, I'm waiting to pull this up. Here we go. On Facebook, I've got a question from Darren J. Canard. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, Darren, if I mispronounce your last name, but he's got a question for Ryan. His question is, what's harder to hit, a splitter or a curve?
Oh man, I would say a good splitter is the hardest to hit, only because when you're looking at the spin, it looks like a fastball, and then all of a sudden, it just falls off the table. Whereas a breaking ball is hard to hit as well. Neither are easy, but
Mm-hmm.
you can read the spin a little bit better on one of those as opposed to a good split finger fastball.
Mm. And I've got another question, and I don't know if this is a friend of yours messing with you here, but it could be a legit question. But it's from Stephen Garrett Nix. Do you know him?
I do, yes, I know him very well.
He asks, which is his favorite New England clam chowder, red or white?
That's obviously the white. That he's quoting Ace Ventura. We're both big Ace Ventura Jim Carrey fans, and so that's actually the perfect question for him to ask.
I haven't seen that one yet. I got to see it. I know that's
Oh,
one that
it's a
a lot of people
classic,
talk
man. It's a
about. Yeah,
classic.
I know. Thank you, Ryan, for your time today. It's been a real pleasure. Ryan Keedy, everybody, Blazer first baseman from 2006 to 2008. Uh, Started in 2007, 2008, but minor leaguer for 3 years, and now the head baseball coach at Gardendale High School. Ryan, thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed it.
Man, me too. Thank you for having me. It's been fun, and like I'm still mad at you a little bit for making me follow Mo Finley, but I guess I can get over that.
I think everybody's going to enjoy this one.
Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks again to Ryan Keedy for being my episode 2 guest, and thank you for listening. I'm excited about the progress of the podcast so far. After my intro episode and episode 1, I had over 100 downloads, and that may not sound astronomical to some, but I love it. You guys are awesome, and I know some of you share the same passion I do for UAB athletics and its players, and you want to hear their story. Before I wrap things up, I want to remind you to go follow my social media pages at Dragons Den EFEL. Once again, that's at Dragons Den EFEL on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms to know when the latest episode hits. I'll announce the next episode for episode 3 next week on social media, so be on the lookout for that. I'm planning on getting a football player to keep an even rotation of sports going, so maybe it'll be somebody you know. Until next time, thanks again for listening. Good night, and go Blazers.